Okay. Mm. So I did it to mine. I'm not seeing an option to also do it to the cloud.
Okay, you're going to have to assign somebody else to be a co-host and let's see if they can do it to the cloud.
Oh, okay. Make Rosemary my co-host.
I'm not sure if that'll work.
Let's try it. We'll see what happens. All right, Rosemary, are you able to record to the cloud?
Yes.
Hooray, we did it.
Okay.
All right, welcome everybody. So you should all have access to the agenda, which is where I'm also taking the notes, but in case you don't have it, here's the link to it. That's also linked on the PPA website, so that's available to anybody. But if you're just arriving, just be sure to put your name and your location in the chat. I'm going through and gonna jot down who is here in our attendance.
Oh,
But oh, there's our president.
hey,
Wonderful timing. Hello, Jeremy.
hello.
We just got it started, so I just shared the agenda in the chat and was about to start with the first item. If you want to take on the first item, go for it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind because I was trying to find the link for everything. So just give me a moment and I'll pull up the agenda.
All good.
Like he's reading it on the dome.
Everything's in the sky.
Yeah, we had a guest speaker from um, Mount Wilson last week, Tim Thompson, and we put it up there. He's like, I've never seen my talk so big in the world. uh, okay, disappeared. I had it for a second. Now it's gone. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. So what have we done so far? We
We have welcomed and signed in the chat that, so we
okay.
are on bullet point number 2.
Okay, so bullet point next bullet point is that we're going to have upcoming elections in the fall. So we're planning on doing that at the same time that the uh, GLIPA WAC conference is happening. So that's the 7th through the 11th, and I think we have to wait until we know their actual agenda so that we have time. They usually have time for our individual groups for meetings, and so we'll do it at that time when we have a breakout for PPA. So we'll do then, and we'll be able to stream then, so everybody will be able to log in. We'll let everybody know. So I think that is the elections. Oh, should I say who's coming up? So it's what is it? President, secretary. I'm trying to remember offhand.
Treasurer.
Oh, treasurer too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we don't elect past president, right? Right, Carl? I don't know if he said something, he's muted, but sure was something funny here.
Say, past president is automatic.
Yeah, that's a given, right?
But they were elected.
Yes, that's true. They were elected as president and then serve as past president because we don't let you go. Yeah, poor Benjamin. He had quite a long time as past president and president for that matter.
Yeah, longer as president.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so oh, that being said, we have the GLIPA WAC conference in Minnesota, October 7th through 11th. I'm planning on being there. Um, so there's other conferences. That's the third bullet point. So we have MAPS and SEPA that's happening this week, huh? And then the LIPS in Boulder is happening. EuroLips, GLIPA and WAC and GRAP. Yeah, we're not sure about that one yet. I think has that one been decided? I'm not sure. Any updates? Anybody know anything?
Which one? Sorry.
The 2026 in Michigan.
Grand Rapids, yes, that is a GLPA. The question mark is whether or not it will also be a WAC. That has not
Okay,
been decided.
okay. Yeah, I thought that was happening no matter what, but I wasn't sure. Okay. And then we were talking about maybe having a WAC or WAC PPA conference. Yeah, so in 2026. Um,
That is a bigger conversation I think would be good to dive into right now, actually, because we have not had any formal proposal for that thus far. So
yeah, yeah. So should we finish this bullet point and then talk about it, or do you want to talk about it right now since we're talking about
I think that's within that bullet point. Yeah, I think it
it?
would be
Okay.
good to talk about it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are we with that? Does anybody, I know we talked about possibly having it in Las Vegas, but that was kind of a probably not sort of situation.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. So we're still in the probably not stage.
Yeah, or almost like 99% not.
Okay, let's
I would, I want to, but it's just not feasible the
okay.
way things are right now. So,
Yeah, and I yeah, kind of said something about it. I guess I did kind of call you out. So I won't call out the other people, but there were a couple of other people that possibly, at least one other, that mentioned that maybe is that person here. I don't see them, so maybe not.
Jim has
Uh,
mentioned a few times an interest.
Oh
I think
yeah, that's right. Jim
what's going
did.
on at OMSI? Anything new or don't want to put you on the spot here, but
Yeah, I know we've been on and off about that. Uh, we could possibly do it. I would have to say I need some um, what I say guidelines to what need to be done and how to convince the administration to have the conference. Is it, correct me if I'm wrong. 2026 is the IPS year, correct?
It is. It's in
It, is that the challenge that having the IPS conference on the IPS year that if I have seen history wise that attendance goes down
yeah.
for the local conference than IPS, and we've always talked about that before. And you put all that effort into it, and if any of the vendors would come or not, um, all of those things. But we have room. I mean, our planetarium is 52-foot wide dome. We have the SSIA dark matter dome, and we have 185 seats. We have an auditorium right next door. Carl is actually seeing our site. So we can easily have the meeting next door in the auditorium. It's very convenient. Nearby hotels. The question has always been what month
Mm,
is typically the meeting for the local meeting? What month is it usually held? You have the conflict of public shows versus, you know, all of those things. So um, I'm not saying no, but I'm also not saying yes. Um, but at this point in time that we have to vote on it and decide in this meeting.
oh no, we're not deciding. I don't think we're just kind of asking the question because we haven't had one for so long, other than with WAC, that maybe it would be a good time. But like you said, you brought up a very good point that Japan is happening, so a lot of people's focus is going to be there. Um,
I think a more general question that might help us narrow this down is do we want to have a PPA meeting or do we want to have a WAC? Because those are two different things.
yeah, yeah.
so I also want to just check maybe with Liam to see if Fairbanks is still interested.
That was the other one. Yeah.
So we're actively in construction right now, with a target hopefully of opening in February or March. Uh, and as I mentioned, I think to Mary when I signed in, hopefully by the next quarterly meeting or the one after that, we'll actually have a planetarium manager hired. So I don't think for 26 that we're in a position to be able to make a commitment like that. Or at least even discuss it until we have that manager in place.
And weather-wise, we probably don't want to be there unless it's summer. Is that true?
Um, it depends upon if you want to be able to do aurora viewing or not for
Oh,
real. The certainly the prices in the winter are cheaper than in the summer.
yeah.
And the actual in real life aurora viewing is possible in the winter.
Okay.
But we're having a great summer this year, so if you prefer summer weathers, that's definitely an option.
Okay.
The last time we were in Fairbanks for a conference, we did see Aurora, so it
It
had
was
to be,
mid-September, as I remember.
yeah.
Yeah, it can be that early for sure.
So am I
Um,
hearing that September is a popular month?
I'll just chime in. I was unable to attend that conference because it was scheduled during the Jewish High Holy Days. So whatever conference we do, can we check a calendar for religious holidays before we put it in stone, as it were?
In the effort of including, I think
A
that's
good reminder along those lines as well, IPS has a really good and robust guidelines through the EDI committee of how to put together an inclusive conference, and that is one of the things. There's a great website that they have that has a calendar of all the possible things that anybody could come across, basically, that you should think about when you're planning something.
And I'm going to go ahead and throw OMSI into the hat for 2026. I'm going to put the name out there. If we can meet all of the guidelines that is required, my next question would be, who are we expected to do registration on our website or PPA website? Or how does that is handled in the past? It's the registration part of it. How did that handle in the past?
Well, let's ask this in general and see who has hosted a conference ever, because they would have a lot of insight that most of us have not. I mean, I wouldn't even know. Has anybody here hosted a conference? Yeah, so that's a bigger question.
Benjamin did a remote one. Yeah, a little different.
Well, that's true. Though we really didn't. It was during the COVID, and we just said anyone who wants to come can come. We didn't collect registration fees, as I recall. We might have asked people to make sure their membership was up to date. Um, I believe, although I'm not 100% sure, that maybe the WAC website hosted the collection or the registration, but it was usually the host who would, end up with all the fees and then have to break it out.
It's been
Well,
a long
Jim,
time
just
since,
and just to clarify, Jim, do you want to do a PPA conference or do you want to do a WAC conference?
That's a good question. Um, I've known that where's the WAC was last time? It was on the East Coast, wasn't it?
WAC last year was in Peoria. It was with GLIPA.
Okay.
And this year it's in St. Paul with GLIPA as well.
When was the last time we had PPA? Just PPA conference.
that may have been 1999.
Hey, I went to that one. I was at the last one.
It's been quite a
Well, I
while.
remember in my early days, we had a PPA conference down in Eugene.
Right.
Eugene Planetarium. We were going to host it one year, and then things fell apart, and then we moved it to Eugene. Hopefully, nobody remembered that. But we're a good destination. There's lots of things to see and do here. We're very capable of hosting a conference. But yeah, Reno. And summers here in Oregon is beautiful, just like it is up in Alaska, because the days are longer up there. um, but no, I'd say I'm in favor of trying to talk about it at least. I could use some tips if I could talk to folks, I can't decide whether it be PPA or WAC. We would have to get the vote from the other conference or the other group, right? And we have to join in. If we submit for WAC, then we have to put our name out there for the conference. Have they submitted anybody submitted for a WAC in the future?
No.
Okay.
The whole reason why WAC formed in the first place was because vendors really liked the idea. I mean, that wasn't the only reason. There were just the memberships of those four Western societies was so much lower than the Eastern societies, was that it made sense to combine just in order to have enough mass to make it worthwhile. And the vendors really appreciated it too, because then they could go to a conference that had more people and fewer conferences. So that that's a factor. And that, for that reason, again, I would vote for having it as a WAC if you're willing to, extend the invitation to the other regions.
That's why I wanted to hear, get, like a vote. And I'm not asking for a vote, but
Well-
what suggested that we do WAC or do PPA?
Well, Jim, if you look in the chat, there are WAC guidelines that are on the PPA website that you can look at, and I believe one of the first steps is submitting a proposal to the WAC presidents.
Let me just
Okay.
throw out another factor, Jim. In general, the host has been financially responsible for, the cost of the meeting. One of the problems is if you start booking. I remember one year in San Diego, they booked a lot of hotel rooms. We didn't get enough people attending. I think it was an IPS year, but I'm not 100% sure. And it was a problem because they came back to PPA and said, hey, we lost all this money on the hotel. So I think, partly as a result of that experience, folks have tended to do more of a WAC than just a PPA to make sure they have enough people to financially make the meeting pay for itself.
We have a very good event sales team here. I would probably want to talk to them and check things out with them about hotels. I mean, they do this all the time. We have lots of conferences here. We have food service here, we have rooms and all of that. So I would like to talk to them a little bit and get some background. If we can get the room rental waived to bring the cost down. And then let's impact losing public shows. And we also have a very large empirical theater that we have a bigger crowd. We can show things on the dome. Not on the dome, but on the empirical theater. It's at 300 seats, and so on and so on. So I would like to investigate this again. When is our next meeting, PPA meeting after today?
It'll be in about 3 months, around when
September.
the equinox is.
Okay. And I know that Carl had been very instrumental trying to persuade me to do the conference here. He usually flew up here to convince me to do it. But I could use any tips or guidance on this. And I think there's a possibility. Another thing that comes to mind in 2026 is not only an IPS year, but it's a big solar eclipse in Iceland on August 12th. And so anybody's working on a budget will want to, budget for the trip to Iceland or budget a trip to Japan, right? All of that. So that could be another factor, kind of made me think about that. Benjamin mentioned about San Diego and the block of rooms. I think the risk is somewhat high on the IPS to eclipse year. But I'm not saying I'm not interested, but I want to look it up a little bit more if I can get all the tips that I can get from the board here.
And
WAC,
just to be clear as well, we do not have a designated person that plans conferences, so we don't have that type of support in PPA at
Okay.
the moment.
No, that's fine. They're gonna ask that question. OMSI will ask that question. What else, what, if any, financial support on PPA or WAC for that matter? They'll ask that question. If there's any financial mean on it. I, just like Benjamin said, if we're financially responsible for it, that may not make them too excited about it. But, how many bodies come to these conferences? Are we talking 30, 60, 100? What's
Yeah.
been the trend lately?
More than 30 for sure. I would add something that would counteract what Benjamin said a little bit, is that there was a joint conference with SEPA a few years ago where a big profit was made. I mean, we got a couple or few $1,000s back from SEPA because they made more money, from vendors and from registrations than they had actually planned on. So that's the other side of that coin, is that there can be a profit, which that would guarantee your expenses are met, but you would probably could consider reimbursing the regionals that participated.
Well, that was my point, Alan, is with just PPA, you run a risk. With WAC, you might do much better, right?
Right.
Does
And
anybody know what the numbers were for Omaha in 2019? Because I'm looking at our list on the PPA website and it doesn't list attendance number. That was the latest standalone WAC that we had.
30 to 40 is my gut feeling for that.
40.
In the single conference that I've ever gone to was that one. And I want to
Gotcha.
say it was
Okay.
somewhere between 30 and 40.
Okay.
was that an IPS year they had that meeting?
No. It was 2019.
sometimes the
Okay,
WAC's budget.
I'm gonna say I'll look into it. And I could, kind of communicate with some of you on this and, maybe come up with a, kind of a plan for the next meeting. If that's too late or is that feasible?
I would say that might be too late, depending on when you want to have it, because if we're talking like beginning of summer, that's a year away. So I would say having at least a year to plan would probably be ideal for
I could
planning
probably look
purposes.
into it for the next 2 weeks and, respond to all of you on an email.
That would be great.
And, after talking to my event sales is, if I can get somebody to send me kind of like a sample outline, some of you've been emailing me, the WAC guidelines and so on. I'll take a look at that and then give a response hopefully in 2-3 weeks.
That sounds good. Yeah, you can communicate with the PPA officers and we can go from there and reach out to the other WAC folks after that.
I think maybe in the meantime, probably it wouldn't be a bad idea to continue to seek another site. Because if you're telling like we're gonna need to find somebody soon, maybe Alaska might change their mind. I don't know. I wouldn't mind a trip to Alaska. I never do. But that might be not a bad idea.
Well, and if we're not able to put together a standalone WAC, there is also the possibility of joining GLIPA again next year if we want to do that. That's an
Okay.
option as well.
Do we know
And
if the other
I-
WAC regionals
they
are
are.
having a similar discussion right now? Because somebody else within a WAC region could also potentially host, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have no
So,
idea.
last year I tried to contact like the presidents of the other regionals in WACs, and the WAC website is just grossly out of date in terms of a couple of regionals that don't seem to be very active as an organization. And it would probably make sense to try to get some more recent information about the people who might actually be important to contact in WAC. It'd be nice if the website was updated. Some of the WAC regionals use that website and don't have their own. So anyway, that was my experience. It was just hard to find people. It took a while, but I did.
All right, so I think what we need is we need a committee to kind of organize all of this. And I don't know who we would want to, or who would want to head that. Jim seems like a good idea, but maybe not if he's going to be doing all the other stuff. But if you want, we could do that. I mean, that's within our powers to form a committee for this, or within my powers, I guess. Do you want to do that, Jim? Because then you can pull this.
I would, yeah, and that would be one of the questions that Omni would ask, is there a committee? Is there somebody, it can't be just me.
Okay, yeah.
And event sales, I mean, the event sales are gonna start charging me their time. Which is not cheap. So yeah, the committee would be one of the things that they would be looking for.
Okay, so if anybody wants to volunteer now for that, we can do it, or we'll just send out a general request.
I'd be
I
glad
would be
to.
happy to help with planning, having never done it before with that caveat. Jim, specifically for Portland, 10 years ago, I worked in OMSI outreach and I grew up in Portland, so I would be very excited to help have it happen there. But I don't know all of the things that have to go into it, but I would certainly be willing to help with the planning.
Fantastic. I appreciate
And there's
that.
also, just as an idea, I don't know whether we could do it, but the ASP has our online learning platform that we could potentially use as a registration portal, and then have it would kind of like funnel money through ASP, and then we can distribute it to PPA. Is how it works in my head. That's kind of above my pay grade at the moment, but just as an idea, like if that becomes a barrier of like, oh, we just don't have a way to register, then I bet we could probably work something out for that, just to be able to use that payment portal.
In my head, ASP might also be able to help us get some speakers. Is that true, Tony?
Yeah, I think I think we could potentially be able to help with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that could be
I'm
a
also, yeah, I'm also the president of the City Astronomers Club here in Portland, and we have 900 members, and they can certainly help with the fashion of speakers and what have you. They can volunteer to help with the event, meaning that they can be running the rooms around in the area and so on. So they would be some able bodies there as well, which would be a great help.
I would volunteer to be on a committee, but not to chair the committee.
Okay, so Alan, thank you. And did you want to say
I was
something?
going to say the same thing.
Okay. All right, so who do we want to be in charge of the committee? Jim, do you want to, or Tony, or?
I
Well, I
think
kind of got myself into this, and I
I would nominate
Yeah,
Jeremy.
yeah,
Me too.
no, yes, I would be
I mean,
happy to.
Okay. Well, I'll certainly be on the committee as well and help plan. So, so that's fine.
That was a big jumble of words. Who's chairing the committee?
I'm not sure if Jim was saying yes or Tony was saying yes. Jim's saying yes. Okay, thumbs up from Jim. Okay, so he'll be, and part of that I think is he wants to be able to get a backup if we don't have him. So that's good. All right, well, great.
Jeremy, that would be great if you could be on the committee as well, in case there's executive decisions that need to be made along the way. That'd be great.
Please include me. I'll be on the committee as well. So, and then we'll put it out, I think, for everyone to also join if they want to be on the committee. Say we're looking for more volunteers, and then we'll see who we get. We'll make it happen. So,
And I'm gonna put. I think everybody has my email address, but I'm gonna put it in chat so that you can have it to make contact with me. So use that email as needed, or the contact.
All right. Probably move on to the next bullet then, Jeremy. That was a long bullet.
It was. Right.
Not unexpected, but
No. Okay, so we were talking about possible PPA. So now we're talking about IPS in, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly, so I'll just say, I'll spell it. How's that? Fukuoka. Fukuoka. Okay, Japan. So that's where IPS is. Yes. Let's see. So that one's happening in 2026, and there's a link in our minutes. So if you'd like to look more into that, but PPA, I'm planning on being there. So hopefully we have everybody's invited for IPS, and then National US Conference is going to be in Huntsville in 2027. So that's happening in October. So that is everything that we have for upcoming conferences. Anything?
If you want to, the email just came through Buenos Aires for 2028 IPS.
thank you.
Okay. Yes, we should include that in our minutes. All right. So Southern Hemisphere. All right. And then anything else for conferences? We got last minute ad there. All right, well, let's move on to the next bullet. So we need an update from the PPA Idea Committee. So who would like to talk about that? Anybody from the Idea Committee?
I'll start. I've been the chair of the committee since Andy Krejci stepped away. And just a little bit of the history of the committee. When Andy was there was a lot of activity around conferences with respect to guidelines for behavior and what to do if there was a situation that came up. That was pretty much before my time. And then there was some focus on trying to communicate with the IPS steering selection committee for conferences to make sure that they would keep keep some of the ideas like to make it a welcoming and open conference at whatever site they did select. And then little over a year ago, when Andy left, I volunteered to become the chair. And since then, we've had a lot of conversations. We have probably contributed some potential speakers and some speakers for the PPA committee, ideas there. Recently, though, I have a couple of things to bring up, maybe for discussion. One is just some of the pushback that people might be getting for anything that has the same acronyms as in the IDEA committee, which is inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. And the second is that when we had a workshop at the GLIPA WAC meeting along these ideas with the regionals there, and I'd say most of the people who attended the workshop were people we would call early career planetarians. And the two topics that came up a lot were captioning and also job postings. Job postings in the sense that they didn't feel like there was one place that they could go to see job postings, that there was too much too much range in where to go in order to look for job postings. The IPS website, again, has the IPS website in this case, has some job postings there. It has a job posting area, which is behind the paywall for membership. And it has some pages to help along the idea of career development. They're pretty much outdated. It was thought that maybe if the IPS job postings and the other pages, if they were behind the paywall, could be moved in front of it, that might be a place where we could advocate for getting job postings to go. Somebody would need to maintain it because it doesn't look like those web pages now are maintained. Along the idea of closed captions, well, captions in general, we have some ideas there. We're a little bit slow initiating that. And so those were the two things that we were working on. But we also wanted to bring up a discussion about whether people see value in having a committee like this. Is there something that a committee like this might work on? Is it time to disband and call it success, I suppose, would be one option. So I'll stop there and see if people have anything they'd like to add or questions.
I have one quick, hopefully quick one. Did they bring up anything about different languages as well? Maybe like translating as well? I think of some of our inclusion challenges. We get, obviously seating. So having proper seating for different accommodations, and then also language is one. Having subtitles is another. And then I was wondering though, do you also include that? Did they say anything about that?
This was at a US conference,
Okay.
and nobody brought up the issue of captioning for multiple languages or having, I know in the case of some movies, they can have different audio tracks, but it was mainly geared towards captioning for people who have hearing impairment. And the comments were they don't know if their system can even do captioning, which is a solvable problem. And the other was there seemed to be a sense these days that people are trying to do their own captioning, not knowing whether or not that the movies that are available to them that they might be trying to caption already have some captioning. And along that line was just to push it upwards and try to get the makers of the planetarium systems and the people who produce movies to know that captioning is important. And so to make sure that going forward, captioning is around.
Yeah, and along those lines too, I would say one of the biggest takeaways from that workshop at GLIPA WAC last year was that just communication in general needs to be improved,
Yeah.
and collaboration between different regionals and things like that. And I think that is a bit where the PPA idea committee, we didn't really follow through on that. Like there hasn't been much communication since that conference last year between the different regionals or between PPA and IPS, for example, and things like that. So
I just want to chime in with two additional points. And FYI, Mary, Tony, and I all sit with Rosemary on the committee.
I don't, I'm not in on it anymore.
Oh, that's true. Okay. She begged off. Yes, she did. So I've been recently trying to do some work for my own planetarium, but also for the committee. So yes, Jeremy, I've been asking about other languages. And the other thing that I've also been looking at is not just in terms of subtitles, but also vision impaired, hearing impaired. So
Yeah, that's a summer project for me, so I might hit you up and get some.
yeah, let's talk.
I'm curious how many of you have captioning? Okay, we just installed ours in November, So we were able to get all of our shows captioned, subtitle on the dome. And now that we have it, it seemed like a pretty straightforward process, but it still limits us. It's not available for live shows, and half of our shows are live. But we do offer live transcribe to the audience. We have a tablet and we download it and we show how to use it. It works pretty well, but not great. The only show it doesn't work for is One World, One Sky because it doesn't recognize Big Bird for some reason. But we do have subtitles for that show anyway. But I'm just curious to see how many of them are there, and I'd be curious to see nationwide what the percentage is. How many have captioning now in their system? It seems to be prevalent, from my understanding.
One of the questions that we've been thinking about before that I've missed the last couple of meetings, so I don't know if we've come into it anymore, is that a lot of systems come with a captioning, like a way to do captioning, but do users know how to use it? And so one of the ideas we had was to try to compile something that can live on the PPA website or something of like, for all of the major systems, here's the part of your manual where it is, right? So that people, like, to reduce that barrier of taking the time to know where to try to find it. So that's another part of some of the pressure we would like to put on those distributors, is like, you have all these bells and whistles in your system, and that's great, but sometimes you have so many things that you can't learn everything, and you prioritize the things you're going to use the most often. And unfortunately, that usually means that captioning part drops off. So one of the ideas we had was to try to have that resource available for those major systems, which should be a fairly easy lift for them, of just like letting us know where in their manual can their users find it, and then we can put it there, right?
What we have found here at OMSI is that if you have Premiere Pro, Premiere Pro can take the show file and convert the caption, the words, the description, into what's called SRT. Because Premiere Pro had that ability to translate for you. You can take that file and then add it, but it's a lot of work, as you probably say, Tony. It's doable, but you have to have the know-how, and once you get it, it's not too bad.
I know on my system, if you'd asked me that question, Tony, 6 months ago, I would have said that we didn't have the ability to show captions. And then noticing there was a button on the controls somewhere that no one had pointed out, it was as simple as that, as to knowing. So if I did have an SRT file in the folder with the video, then it could show.
At WSU, we just have warped VLC player movie files. So VLC player might have a way to show captions, but I don't know what it is. I'm also just a very part-time presenter, so those are not questions that I've had to answer for. And as far as I know, it hasn't come up for the university, but it is still something that I have thought about wanting to be better at. And then also making sure that, having it is one thing, but then also communicating it to your audience who needs it, that you have it available, and how to access it is something else, right? Instead of making them always have to ask, it should be a lot more obvious what those things are.
And there's, I guess it's the difference between captioning and strictly closed captioning, in the sense that whether it's captioned in a way that everybody sees. I know I've heard some discussion that people find that distracting. Other people like me actually use captions on my whatever I'm watching wherever I can. But there's, some difference between having it on the screen for everyone and then having it available to those who need it. And at least my understanding is what we were working for now is that easiest option, which is it's the ability the instructions for the equipment and some idea as to shows that are already captioned in the sense of having an SRT file and then it being shown on the screen for everyone if you turn the option on.
I wanted to interject that I think this is a decent answer to your question, Rosemary, of is there a purpose for the committee? I think that like finding answers to these questions, it seems like there's a lot of people that are still wondering this stuff and could really use some resources around it. So I think the committee could be a good avenue to like find solutions for folks.
And we do have the option to start up the connections, and probably would be a good idea if we are going to have a WAC conference to get in touch with the people that we had from each of those regionals and see if there's a more collective effort on this part. Jeremy, you're muted.
I was saying that I think that this is a great point that we need to be idea inclusive. So we'll definitely make sure that that happens if we have our PPA conference. All right. Did you have anything else?
I have something really quick. Alan or somebody, would you mind taking over note taking? I have to run and give a show. We just sold 4 tickets.
Yay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, great. Thank you. And I'll just leave this open because it's recording to my computer. So.
All right. So next is our PPA webinar. So Alan and Rosemary have been doing a great job with this. So yay, thank you. It's been going really well, I think. Do we have any updates about June or July, or do we need anything? Who wants to take it?
So Emily Peavy's going to do the June seminar, and it's on, gosh, I can't think of the name of it now. Free choice learning, which to me sounds like a great topic as we try to get more audience, understanding what people will be attracted to and appreciate when they make the choice to come. It's a little bit based on informal learning and education, but it's more general than that. And in July, I'll let Alan talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I won't take notes, but briefly, I wanted to do a series of planetarium educators workshops. And this is based on, it will be based on the old Planetarium Educators Workshop Guide. So the first module of that is on communication. So that'll be the subject of it, and it's all based on live audience participation programs, how to do those kinds of programs. And the goal is to have it pretty much participant led, or well, I'll be the leader, but they'll participant driven, shall I say, where I'll seek input from everybody who comes. And I don't want that to discourage anybody from coming. So anyway, that's what we're doing.
All right. So it sounds like we have that covered. Anything for August? Do you already have something planned, or?
So I had some ideas for August. Haven't pursued them yet. I will say it's open. If anybody has an idea they would really like to see for August, they should probably send it to Alan and me pretty soon before I start sending off invitations. I will say in September, we have Daniel Brown, who's at, I believe it's called the University of Trent in the UK. And this is on the topic of skyscapes, and it'll include some archaeoastronomy type sites in the UK. Stellarium has a 3D plugin that I believe is what is being used in that case. Skyscape is this idea that the land is sort of intrinsically tied to the sky in some way. And it's used a lot with archaeoastronomy. So that's all. I think we have somebody planned for December. I don't have any details on that yet, but again, we're always open to ideas.
Okay, great. All right, I'm making sure I'm not muted this time. All right, and I think we'd like to close with a round robin, so we'll check in with everybody. Maybe this time what we could do, since it went a little long last time, is just kind of maybe say either something you're working on or something that you're proud of, things that are going well at your planetarium, something positive. I think we can end it that way. We need some positivity, right? So, and I could start. So I'll just say we opened up an aerospace plaza right next to the planetarium. And so it's a nice complement. We have the history of aerospace on giant steel plaques and then QR codes so people can explore more. And it was put together by the same person who put together Sage Cheshire, which is the balloon to space where they dove out and broke the sound barrier. So he put those together for us. All right, so let's pass it on. How about Carl?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just finished. I sent in the article. It'll be in Great Western Observer. Carla and I went and visited Lawrence Hall of Science, and so we're continuing with our quarterly visits. And yeah, that was a real experience. I hadn't been there in a long time. Carla had never seen it, so that was a great one. So anyway, that's what I've been up to.
I'll go next. So I just knocked out two big PPA conventions in the last month. We had the California statewide PPA convention in Ontario that I got to bring the dome to and had, probably 400 or 500 people go through it. Everybody was astounded and amazed, and that was fun. And then a couple weeks later, I had just the local Orange County District PPA or PTA meeting that I didn't get to bring the dome to, but still got to meet a ton of people and do some networking, and got a ton of contacts and a lot of people interested in booking the dome. So
Hey,
it's
Scott, if
fun.
you could throw me an invite, I might be able to meet up with you, help out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in summer right now, so it's possible. Yeah, and they give me some time to do that. So,
Oh, nice.
all right. Who are you going to throw it to?
How about Tony?
Hi. At the ASP, we are 1 week away from starting a summer educator series of workshops. So we have a series that we call the nuts and bolts of teaching astronomy that's going to cover some content specific things like telescopes and multi-wavelength astronomy, stars, the solar system, the universe, aimed at educators in the classroom who have just been told by their administrators that next year they are going to be teaching astronomy. And we know that there's a number of these folks who are told that and they freak out on the message boards and various places. And so we saw that need, and we've done a couple of free broader workshops, but we're going to kind of get them a little bit more specific this time. And then we'll be able to offer them a graduate credit through the University of Pacific as part of that as well. And then we're doing a 3-part Stellarium workshop, again, for aimed at classroom educators, but would be, maybe interesting for some planetarium folks too, about ways to use Stellarium for student-centered labs and activities for various things. So we have those, and then our annual symposium will be on August 21st. And so that official announcement for registration stuff should be coming out really soon for when you can do that. We will have scholarships available, but don't quite have that part sorted just yet. But the early bird price is $49 for a 1-day symposium. So you'll see more about that from myself and my colleagues posting on things later. The WSU Planetarium, where I also work here in Pullman, kind of just chugs along. Summer's a little bit slower for us because the students are gone. But we have public shows that are happening and a few public viewings at the observatory. So just kind of business as usual with that. So that's what's going on out here. How about Romy? Hi, Romy.
Hello. The Lotimal Planetarium here is chugging along as well. It is dinosaur season for us, and so we're showing T-Rex along with our temporary exhibit. So thank you to Imiloa for doing it first here in the islands and getting that buzz going. So it's been good in that regard. I think I'm carrying with me from this from the end of the spring semester where I was really busy with schools. There was a special group that was intentionally visually impaired, or not intentionally, but the group was designed to help support those that are visually impaired and blind, and they specifically requested a visit. We were able to make use of a lot of tactiles and then try to rethink what a planetarium show would be for a group, or even just those that are aging and your eyesight is starting to go. Eyesight is starting to go, admittedly. So I think I'm carrying that and putting my attentions to that as we plan for the next school year. So really, really happy that families are coming out and people are still engaging in the planetarium. I hope you guys are experiencing that too. And if Risa is still here, I'd like to pass it to him.
It's great. All right, who's going next? Anybody want to volunteer?
Oh, sure, I'll go. It's me, Andrew from Las Vegas. Romy came and visited. She got to see the dome in Las Vegas. So if anybody's coming to Las Vegas for any reason, of course, stop in. You can see just how small we actually are. Um, but I've been trying to help from some different shows. If you get the opportunity, uh, there's a planetarium maker out there now by the name of Luke Ployer. He did Space Next, which was a convert from IMAX, but now he's actually making real planetarium shows. So cool space. And then he's going to have another one coming out soon called A New Blue, which I just did some consulting on to help with the script and everything like that. I've had a comedian who's interested in making his own planetarium show, so we're going to hope that that goes through, and I'll be able to help him with that as well. Because if there's one thing we need, it is absolutely we need more people making planetarium content. And so we're hopefully going to continue with that. And then within about a month or so here, I'm shooting for my 400 grand to try and upgrade the planetarium. With any luck, we'll either get the city of Las Vegas interested in it or get somebody interested in it by us presenting to the city of Las Vegas to actually do that. So yeah, that's a lot of what's going on around here. So here's hoping that everything keeps going fine.
So you're not going to just take over the sphere and do planetarium shows on the sphere?
Yeah, well, that's a completely different circumstance. Uh, First of all, they're 16K by 16K, um, which is just a little more than what I have the ability to render, just to say the least. Um, but by the way, if anybody ever tells you that the sphere is not making money, laugh in their face because they wouldn't be building another one in the Middle East if the sphere in Las Vegas was actually losing money. It's called accounting tricks. One of their actually three of the the movie showings would bring in enough money to actually upgrade my planetarium. Just three, and they do about 8 a day of those movie showings. So they are also developing their own cameras to do 16K by 16K filming, and they're spending up to $100 million or 100 million or more to convert the Wizard of Oz to play on the Sphere. They actually have the witch's feet like the sphere landed on the witch. And they are already promoting that possibility. So over $100 million that they're spending to do that, and I can't get 400 grand.
All right, Jim, you want to go?
Yeah, well, I was just there, Andrew, in Las Vegas, and I was there for the Dark Sky Festival at the Death Valley, and it was just kind of a spur of a moment, and that was a great event. It really is. It's a wonderful site, and I've never been to it, and I got to meet a lot of the folks there at Death Valley Festival. And that was when I found out that 20% of their rangers are going to be laid off. And so they were struggling. And but that was a fun event, Andrew. That it's definitely worthwhile. But boy, you can still see that light bubble over there in the east. Huge light bubble. But what I say to here at OMSI, we just finished our full year of live programming in the evenings. We had like Beautifica, Mid America, Touch the Universe, and concerts play. If you could ever get the show called Silent Sky to your planetarium, it is a must. It's a wonderful play, and we sold out all of our shows, but it was a great thing to have in the planetarium. It's inspiring, but it really relates to Henrietta Tuan Levet. Talk about the her. I mean, not 100% true, but it's really a great play. If you can bring it to your planetarium, it definitely will succeed very nicely. But we just went our first full year. Happy to say that we did very, very well. And this year, for some reason, I don't know, it's something in the water or what, we've had 10 marriage proposals in the planetarium this past year, 10 marriage proposal. And one is going to have a wedding now in the planetarium. But there's something in the water. I don't know what it is, but we have quite a few. I know all of you are smiling. You've had wedding marriage proposals there in your dome, but 10 was a lot for us this year. And every one of them said yes, which is good news. And so, no, I've only had one no in my time here in the planetarium, only one. And now we ask the question, anybody that's want to do a marriage proposal, the first time we ask, are you sure that he or she is going to say yes? Are you sure? Okay. And so, oh yeah. So the one that said no only knew her for 4 months. No, that's a bad idea. So anyway, that's what all the positive news here. I know that I haven't heard it yet. Then this group, we're coming up to the Rubin Observatory, coming out with their first light, their first images on the 23rd, I think it is. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the first light from the Rubin Observatory and all of that good stuff. And it sounds like there's going to be mega high pixel images coming from that beast down there.
All right, who are you going to throw to next? Liam?
Sure. Well, I feel like I already gave an update for UAF pretty much, but I'll throw into the chat a live stream of our construction in case anybody's curious. And also, if any of you experts see something and you're like, why would you be doing that in a planetarium construction? Maybe you can reach out to me. It's funny to hear you mention the proposals, Jim. I think half of the candidates that interviewed for our planetarium manager position used handling proposals as one of their examples for dealing with the public in the planetarium. So had no idea it was that popular. But yeah, like I said, we're doing a little homegrown live streaming. So if that's anybody's curious to see our progress, don't know what we're going to do when things move indoors from outdoors, but can also give you an idea of what our weather here is in Fairbanks right now. So yeah.
All right. Who's next? Alan, you want to say something?
Uh, yeah. Well, yeah, I've been hanging in there looking for people to do planetarian Zoom seminars, and I do various things here and there. Uh, help out with websites, planetarium websites and things. Uh, nothing earth shaking. Took a class on cooking last weekend. Uh, comfort food, family comfort food.
Oh, you know how to make macaroni and cheese.
Well, I do. What we did was grilled cheese sandwiches, tomato soup,
There you go.
and wedge salad.
Awesome.
So that's that's all I have to say now.
There's a planetarium show there, I know. All
Funny
right.
though, Alan, at the Dark Side Festival, and they show how to roast marshmallows using a concave mirror in a public, and you put the marshmallow at the end of the stick, and they were handing out s'mores for making the roasted marshmallow with the sunlit concave mirror. I thought that was pretty clever.
You know, I was thinking I was taking notes, but I certainly couldn't capture what everybody was saying. If you have the link to the document, which is earlier in the chat, uh, look up your name and fill it out better than what I than what I captured. It was pathetic. So let's see who's next. Are we done?
No,
Um,
Benjamin could talk, or Rosemary.
Sure. We just finished our spring semester a few weeks ago. Just spent the past 2 weeks working in the dome with our contractor. We're still trying to get our theater control system to work more reliably. We actually didn't have any public shows last year because I just couldn't really trust it. I didn't feel it would be fair to let other presenters, um, you know, deal with problems that might come up. But I'm hoping come fall we'll have a full Friday and Saturday schedule. And then otherwise, planetarium's not really getting used this summer. Our one face-to-face class was canceled due to low enrollment.
So it's a good time to visit you, huh?
Yeah, sure. Come on by. Yeah, I'm around. I'm teaching an online class, but yeah,
So you're staying busy.
always.
All right. Okay, Rosemary.
so I do have some good news. We have been funded by the city. We're a volunteer planetarium to purchase a new Digitalis portable system. Looking very much forward to that. Before we struggled with getting transportation funds to bring kids to the planetarium. And I did also get some money for that too on a different grant. So it's going to be a big year to try to reach out to the younger folks, I think. And I've started to look over all of the posts on Dome Dialogue and Dome for recommendations for sort of high quality or popular full dome movies for kids, younger, sort of K through 8, that aren't terribly expensive. I do have a few $1,000s, but that doesn't go very far on some movies. So with the portable system, I'm also trying to train a couple more people from scratch on how to use it. And we also got the money to do a needed upgrade for the control unit for the Digitalis system that we have in the planetarium. So all of that's, I just see a really busy year, but it's a good year. About this time last year, I didn't know if the building was going to be torn down or not. And so a lot has changed since then.
That's very good news. I see Nick. Nick has been in and out, so here he is.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully my cell service will still work. um, yeah, update from Bakersfield College. We're closed for the summer, but we ended really well. We've been showing the Black Holes show um, from from Denver. We've been showing that every semester since 2006 with great great participate, great audiences, great large audiences. So that's always been a popular one. And we had this past semester doing Mesmerica shows on the first Friday and Saturdays of a month. And, you know, things I mentioned at their last PPA meeting that has brought in new people who haven't never knew about the planetarium before, even though, you know, the planetarium's been in Bakersfield since 1962. But they do a really good job on advertising, getting the word out. The I guess a new thing that I'm hoping will finally go through is getting our Kronos computers, getting backups for those. The computers we have, I guess, would date from what 2005, or maybe even before then. So we've had those in since that time, and there are only very few of those left in Ash Enterprises stock. And last year, I had put in a request to get funding to get some purchase, so we'd have them on hand in case our current ones decide to give up the Ghost. And that didn't go through this time. I've tried again, and I've been promised that we're just going to get that in there. So I'm hoping that does happen. I will find out for sure. I think probably in August. After all the budget stuff is finally approved. But that I'm hopeful that happens because I mean the computers are still doing fine, but it has been since really 2005, and who knows it'll when they will decide to give up the Ghost. So so that's the news we have from Bakersfield.
All right. Well, that's all good. I think there's only one more person, but I don't know if they're just listening in the background or able to talk. That's Reza. We'll see. Maybe not. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. I'll just say if you didn't post your name and where you're from in the chat, make sure you do that before we close it out. And any last words? I guess I'll go ahead and
live long and prosper.
There you go. We have to have that. Thank you. All right. We'll call it there. Thanks.
Bye. Good seeing you.
It's great seeing everybody.